hard to know where to start. I know that someone's counting the clock on me, it's time to stop. But there's a couple of things that you need to know, and I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to share with you some of my observations, which may not always reflect what you just saw. Actually, my name's Gary Sisonese. You know, you owe a lot to a lot of people. There's no way you can ever enumerate them all. There's no way you can thank them all. I do want to pay particular thanks in public to a couple of family people that have put up with my quirks and intensity and helped me get along. Kathleen is not able to be here tonight, and it's unfortunate, but she has really put up with me. And my son, Thomas, is probably, I'm going to embarrass him, he's become one of my best friends, and I can say nothing more than thanks for giving me that opportunity. Now there's some other people, and I wanted to share with you just very quickly an idea when we ask ourselves what goes on. There was a fundraising campaign here a couple of years ago, and its theme was something like, and it all began at Auburn. Let me just put a couple extra tickets with that. When I look back and say, well, what happened and what impressed me, just off the top of my head, what are the things I remember? Starting, I do remember Dr. Foy. I have great fond memories of Bill Ham, who used to run the laundry and cleaners. That man represents Auburn. I have fond memories of Professor Fred Martin. Some of you here may remember Fred. He came to Auburn the same year I got into aeronautical engineering. He taught me 2 lessons that were very, very painful and very useful. He told me what accountability meant. And what it meant in my case was it was 3 o'clock on the morning of graduation ceremony before I was allowed to graduate. Seems I had more fun at Chewacca than I did in the lab. And there was no way I was going to graduate until I was turned in. And I hit him on the door at 3 in the morning. He also taught me something that was terribly important. Stop whining about what you would like to have and don't. Make it happen with what you got. And he helped us build stuff for our laboratories, and the lessons that we learned there have stayed with us ever since. So that's a hell of a good start. There's other people that came right behind in quick response. I owe Jack Helmick a special thanks. He graduated in NRTC a year before me. What was his contribution that made a difference for me? He arranged for me to go watch a Titan II launch while we were both stationed at Navy Jacks. And up until that time, I thought spacecraft were ugly. Airplanes are pretty. I went down there and watched this Titan take off and watched 2 brand new F-4s get lost behind. And I said, you know, there's something to this business. That looks like fun. And from there, the snowball goes on. There was a simulator instructor that I got into at Dan Bland at the Cape, who tried his best to teach me how to stay alive, and I tried my best to defeat him. He won, fortunately. There's a couple of people in this community that come back into my story over and over again. Hank Hartsfield's one of those. Hank's here, and I didn't know he was going to be, but this was my plan all along. Met him at ARPS, the Air Force Test Pilot School, and he was an instructor, and we both had interest in space. He went to the Air Force Manned Orbiting Laboratory Program, and I went to NASA. Actually, I had wanted to go to MOL, and I thought I would have a better chance there. Through a bunch of bizarre circumstances, Hank came to NASA when MOL was canceled and became the key to our Apollo 16 flight, where we kept trying to do more and more things and there wasn't room. And Hank says, why don't you let me run the flight plan? Because you're always watching the clock and trying to do other things. And so Hank took over and did our entire flight plan when we were in radio communications, and let me look out the window and have a ball. And we actually learned some things. It was a magic thing. Hank took care of me again on STS-4 after we worked hard to get going together. And what does a pilot do for you? Well, the week before flight, Hank walked over to our office door and closed it and said, can I talk to you? And I thought, oh boy, now what? Yeah, sure, Hank, what would you like? He says, will you please promise to wear your glasses? He says, I've been covered up for you in all our simulations because you can't read the numbers. So I made a good promise, but Hank still took care of us. So it's been a family affair for a long time, and all of the things that Hank has done to make that happen can never be overemphasized. There's another person that I ran into multiple times. His name's Tom Burson, so you may remember Tom. He was the brightest guy in our class and our ROTC. Went off to be in the nuclear submarine program. Came back, and the next time I knew, in Apollo, we were getting ready to carry some cameras that people drug up from somewhere. And you look at it and say, that looks like it flies in an airplane. Must be reconnaissance or something. So we asked for briefings on this. In walks Tom Burson, haven't seen him in years. And he plops his camera down with a big grin. And sure enough, that's where it came from. We flew a special camera in the last couple of service modules around the moon. And the neatest thing was, one of these was Tom's camera. And the neatest thing was, it gave me an excuse to go outside the spacecraft where there's really no horizon. There's nothing to see except this little handrail, a little silver thing. And over there is a little bitty Earth, and I can't see the moon. Now that's a thrill. And it all came together because of Tom's activities. One last thing I have to tell you, there is another creature that has rescued me against my very best efforts. His name's Forrest. He has saved me more times than you can imagine. I keep trying to get in trouble. Actually, I succeed, and Forrest has come along. He started with us with the STS, the 51C, the DoD mission. And in addition to being probably the most versatile and competent technical manager the Space Division ever has hoped for, he sets the standards for that. He's also a very political savvy person, but uses it not for game, but as a way to get communications amongst organizations. I know you can't believe it, but NASA and the Air Force were not always good friends. And the only way we got through that mission was this gentleman who made it possible to pull that off. He also helped me get my job at Atlas, which is one of the most rewarding things I ever did. But if it hadn't been for that investigation and your help, I never would have gotten there. This story keeps going over, and it's typical of what my impression of Auburn is. It's all those people who continually do things to take care of each other. It's professionalism, it's dedication, and that's what it's all about. It did, in fact, start right here at Auburn. The Auburn spirit is real, as has already been pointed out. We must sustain it. I know we will. It's a great thing. It's been a privilege. So let me just say one thing to you. War Eagle!